Hey everybody, it's Stephanie here and another video chat. I'm really excited to introduce you to Phyllis Harvey and her vibrational sound. Am I getting that right? Vibrational sound therapy. It sounds so cool and so official, and we're going to learn all about it today. Phyllis and I go way back. I want to say, gosh, well, Drayton, her son, I had the privilege of teaching in when he was in high school, and he's now just about almost done with medical school, isn't he?
Well, he's 26, so he graduated in 2013, and
Okay,
he's about halfway through his MD PhD. So
that's
he's
right. He's
way to go.
doing the yeah, he's doing the big one. Like he's going to be in school for EVs, but that's okay. We'll take it. We'll take it. I'm so excited to have someone with his mind on the forefront of medicine. I have to say, I have to brag on him. Drayton probably very much so is one of the top students I've ever taught, and not just because he was brilliant, but because he is so kind and thoughtful, and it's like every word counts. Do you know? I mean, you're his mom, of course you know this.
Yeah.
But he just is just a wonderful individual. And so as we were talking before we started recording, we were trying to figure out when's the last time we saw each other in person, because COVID and whatnot. And we agreed it was probably one of the several many celebrations of Drayton's different graduations and accomplishments. And so I've felt privileged as a former teacher that I've been invited to those, and I love that we have a friendship based off of that that's continuing. It's a good
Thank
thing.
thank you. Yeah.
Yes. And so I'm super excited that this vibrational sound therapy has taken wings with you, and you started this before COVID, shortly before COVID hit, and have weathered that storm and are building this tremendous service for people. So let's talk a little bit about what exactly got you started in this. Give us a little background about you. Tell us
Yeah.
what vibrational sound therapy is. I'm so excited to hear.
So I am a Douglas County native, and about 4 or 5 years ago, I started on a new journey just for me, just, to grow, um, figure out who I am, those kind of things when we're about midlife and we're trying to figure things out. And a friend of mine and I started going to a meditation group with some really just amazing people. And there was a lady there who was playing crystal singing bowls. And I had heard them before and had heard some like at a yoga class and stuff like that. But I really didn't know anything about them, and I had never been that close to them. And in person and close proximity while you're meditating is incredible. It is so powerful. And she was very skilled. She'd been doing it a long time, and so I just started talking to her about them and asking more questions. And she was helping me research and trying to figure out, like how I could incorporate them into my life. And she said, there's all different kinds of bowls out there. So there's not just crystal, there's also metal, which I had never heard of before. It just wasn't in my life at that time. And so I started doing some research and started listening to them and was just like, oh my gosh, these are really even more moving to me than the crystal. And so she told me a couple of names of some really credible people in the US who did training and that kind of thing. And this was in, I think it was like October of 2019. And I found the Vibrational Sound Association, which is based in Nebraska, and I found they were doing a training in Highlands Ranch in
What?
December of 2019. I know. It was like, I don't believe in coincidences. I believed that this was meant to be, and so I'm looking at this and it has a pretty heavy price tag. And I don't know. I just normally I'm pretty frugal, and something just told me that this was right for me. And so I talked to my husband and I said, I'm gonna do this, even if it's only just for me, right? If it's just self-growth and it's just some for my own meditation or whatever, I just want to do this. And he is amazing. He's always super supportive. So I went to the training, and I think it was not even by the end of the first day, I was like, I'm going to do a business. And I came home and told him, and he was like, wait, what? So it went from there. And so I officially started my business in January of 2020. Just I had to do 10 pro bono sessions in order to get my license. And so I was just doing that in my home and from January to March and was doing amazing. It was starting to grow. And then COVID hit. I can't do anything.
Wah,
The
wah.
internet closed, right? We were all in the same boat. And so I took the opportunity to learn more. I did more online classes. I got certified as a yoga nidra facilitator. And I just kept studying and learning and practicing until I could reopen. So that's kind of how I got to where I'm at now. And then in July of 2020, I jumped full feet in and rented a space in Lone Tree, and that's where my studio is now, where I offer this to the public. Yeah.
So cool. So you mentioned bowls and singing and metal and crystal. And so tell us more about what an experience would be in your little studio. What does that look like?
So, vibrational sound therapy is where you place the metal bowls, the Himalayan singing bowls, on the body. Um, Through the VSA training, we're taught a very specific protocol on exactly where they're placed, exactly how often to activate them, and how to move them, where they go. Um, for if you're laying face up on the massage table or you're laying face down on the massage table. And so those bowls are placed on your body. The crystal bowls are not placed on your body. If a practitioner is placing crystal bowls on your body, that's not safe.
Okay.
And so um, the VSA has done tons of research about what is safe, what contraindications are, and that just means if there's a physical illness, some type of a physical challenge that somebody might have, tells us whether or not we can place the bowls on the body or if we have to just make modifications. And that's all on my website under the health and safety section. And I'm really strict about it. I wouldn't even practice on my husband until he got it cleared by his cardiologist, because my philosophy is do no harm.
Mhm.
Um, and so the crystal bowls are around the massage table. So if you do a 30 or a 60-minute session, the bowls are on your body. And I have a 22-inch by 12-inch grounding bowl that you start off standing in.
Wow.
And so we do some breath work and do a grounding session before you even get on the table. And so I also got certified in mindfulness, how to teach that, coach that. And so a lot of people don't know, some people do. And so I'm really mindful about asking, do you have a mindfulness practice or a meditation practice? So then I just let that person use the skills and tools that they already know and use. But there's a lot of people who come to me that don't, and they don't know how to quiet the busy mind or what to do when thoughts keep coming. And so before they even get in that grounding bowl, then we're talking about that. And in fact, your first session, probably the first 15 minutes, are talking about exactly what's going to happen, where the bowls are going to be placed. This is what it sounds like. This is how to do the breathing to activate your vagus nerve so the parasympathetic nervous system can turn on. So I'm really helping to also educate my clients so that when they go home, they can still do this at home, whether it's just breathing, or they have their own little singing bowl at home, those kinds of things. So helping them so when they're actually on the massage table, they know how to completely let go and let the vibration of the bowls just move all that fluid around in their body, um, and let go. Most people fall asleep, actually, which is great because when we turn on that parasympathetic nervous system, that's rest and digest instead of fight, flight, freeze. And so that's a compliment to me when somebody's falling asleep. um, the 90-minute session is the mind body spirit, and that includes on the body and a sound meditation with the bowls all the way around them in the room. And I have a crystal pyramid that sounds really beautiful, right, like right above your head. And so lots of others, and little chimes like this one, that everybody wakes up to when the session is over. So that's kind of what happens during a session.
Very interesting. So interesting. You mentioned the parasympathetic nervous system. Just to clarify for our viewers, there you mentioned rest and digest and fight or flight. And our body is set up, our nervous system is set up to protect us. And this fight or flight, or the sympathetic nervous system, is a good thing. It is there to help us escape from a bear or a saber-toothed tiger, right? And back in primal times, that sympathetic nervous system would fire up and we would run away. And as soon as we escaped the danger, we would settle down and go back into that parasympathetic state, which would be mild and moderate, and the rest and digest. But the problem with modern day, with all of the things pulling at us, all the hats that we're wearing, and all the plates we're juggling, and how many different things or plates we're spinning, how many different metaphors can I come up with? But we are so overbooked and overstressed and whatnot, that our sympathetic nervous system is overtaxed, it's overused, and we're in a perpetual state of this high stress. And in that high stress, our body is inflamed, we have this overall inflammation, our brains are affected, our sleep is affected, and pretty much it's not an optimal way to live.
Right.
It's a disease state. And so looking for ways to introduce back this parasympathetic response is key. And so some people practice breath work, some people take walks, some people meditate, and vibrational sound therapy is another tool
Yes.
that can be used, it sounds like, interchangeably with some other modalities to help bring the body back into this parasympathetic state.
Yes.
And it's so in that way, I'm guessing it would enable our bodies to do what our bodies do best, is take
Yes.
care of ourselves,
Exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
we don't claim healing or anything like that, right? But
No.
what it does is it calms us and allows the body to do what it needs to do.
Yeah. That's exactly right. So I am very careful and very intentional about telling people I am not a healer. Um, the vibrational sound therapy is a deep relaxation modality that creates exactly what you're talking about, which helps turn off the cortisol, which helps us to sleep better. And so by reducing that stress level in our bodies, then you get all of these benefits, right? And so people are like, oh, the bowls healed me. No, the bowls create an environment for your body to heal itself.
Absolutely right. I love it. I love it. And finding different ways, different strokes for different folks. And again, sometimes a meditation practice will work and work and work until it doesn't. For some reason, we need a little something new and introduce something for a season and then maybe reintroduce. It's just nice to know of something different and new.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that some people aren't aware of singing bowls. So tell us more about the bowls. I know that these aren't just like ice cream bowls.
Right. Well, so vibrational sound therapy, if you think about it, has been around for thousands of years. Indigenous cultures have used sound healing, sound therapy forever. Whether it's the American Indians and the drums and the singing and that kind of thing, or the I can't even think of others at the moment. But so this is very similar. And so the bowls that we use, that when you're trained by the VSA and you buy them from them, they are created where the inside of the bowl is put in a lathe to create these like rings, so that it will vibrate more than just a traditional singing bowl that's really made just for auditory. And so that vibration, when it's placed on your body, then that vibration is literally going down into the cellular level of our body, into the tissue, and moving that fluid around so that it can release muscle tension, and all of that. So I use three different bowls most of the time on the body. There's a big one that is placed on your torso area. There's a little bit smaller but thicker one that's used on your torso here, but also on your shoulders, that's a higher pitch. And then there's a smaller one that's used on your legs, and sometimes on the arms, although now I have one that a vibra-point. So it's a bowl, but it has a handle that comes down that has a little point. So it can be used like acupressure.
Ooh, oh,
So then
that's cool.
yeah, so I'll use that on the arms mostly, but my husband has a bad shoulder. I use it all over his shoulder to just move around that fluid and loosen up those muscles in there. I have lots of clients that are like, okay, use that on my hip today because my hip's really tight, those kind of things. Of course, I give the disclaimer, this doesn't heal you,
Mhm,
this isn't medical treatment, it doesn't replace medical treatment,
mhm.
but it does make you feel better. So these bowls are specifically made for vibrational sound therapy. So
So yeah, I didn't know that, or I hadn't thought about it like that. I figured, if I wanted one, I could go down to the metaphysical store down on Broadway and buy a bowl, and and they make beautiful sound,
oh
but
yeah.
it's not the same. It's not the same as what you're talking about, and that vibration is key. And so you're talking about placing the bowls on people's bodies, but I know we have talked, and it's also in your frequently asked questions. There are some people who don't want to be touched in any way, and you're very respectful of that, and you offer other ways to do the vibrational sound therapy, don't you?
Yeah, so there I don't touch you. It's not like massage where you take off clothes, that kind of thing. You stay fully dressed. So I invite people to make sure you're wearing just really comfortable clothes with no metal or plastic on them. And I have a heated cover on my massage table, and I have really comfortable sheets, and we cover you up with a sheet. And so I don't touch your body. I'm just touching the bowl and moving the bowl. Um, Sometimes people fall asleep and I can't get them to wake up at the end, so I might use like a mallet to just kind of, okay, wake up,
Not like
No, 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 no. Just gently on the shoulder.
yeah.
Okay, come back to the room. It's time to wake up.
I love it.
That kind of thing. But no, I don't
I love it.
physically touch anybody.
Yeah, and I think that there is a time and a place for that, and a profession for that, and that's not what you're doing.
Right.
It's complementary to that, but
Yeah.
different, and
Yeah.
so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't like talk therapy. So I have a lot of clients who are men, and they they don't want to talk to anybody. They just want to relax. And some of them were a little skeptical the first time they came. Is this really going to work? I'm not going to fall asleep. And they fall asleep within 8 minutes because I time it and tell them, just because it's fun to, just,
Yeah.
yeah, see, you did relax. Um, and they're all amazed. I didn't think I could relax. My life is so stressful. There's no way I'm going to relax this fast. And they do. and same with women, of course. It's just it's I think it's just something you have to try first to really understand it,
Hmm.
to see the studio, to actually feel the bowls, and that kind of thing. So I think it's definitely something you have to try. um
I agree. I agree. I agree. So this all sounds a little woo woo.
okay.
So how do you respond to someone who says, I'm not into woo woo? Like
Right.
what would your answer be?
So I really anticipated that question from the very, very beginning. And on my website, I have the FAQ page that you were mentioning. And that's one of the sections that I put on there specifically because, some people are into woo woo, but I think we were talking that, there are different levels of that and it means different things to different people. Some people think woo woo is crystals and incense and, whatever, tarot cards, whatever. Um, no disrespect to any of that. It's all great, and it works for some people, but it's not for some people.
Mhm.
And so I tell people my training is secular and they don't teach us woo woo. They are teaching us a scientific approach to how to do this, exactly where to place the bowls, that kind of thing. But I'm very open and very inclusive. And I tell my clients that this session is your session. And if you are faith-based, instead of talking about mindfulness, then you can talk about prayer. You can use the quiet time as prayer time. Or if you have one client that is openly to me Buddhist and asked if he could chant while he was in the grounding bowl, of course. This is your
Love
session. This
that.
is about you and about your relaxation. That's fine. So I just tell people it's whatever you need it to be, whatever you want to bring into the session is fine. I just ask that when you're on the massage table, if you do have crystals or if you need to have something with you, if you're holding a cross or, whatever it is that you have with you, that it's just not where the bowls are going to be,
Mhm.
but we work together so that it's what you need it to be. And I know no problem with whatever people need to do, obviously within reason so that it doesn't interfere with the session. Um, I have incense if people want it. I always have a diffuser on, but I always double check, are you allergic to any scents? Being really mindful of all of that. So I just try to explain it so that people feel safe and feel comfortable.
Right. It sounds so emotionally and physically safe and so inclusive. It just sounds amazing. I'm ready for it right now. I could use it after the week I've had. Oh my goodness. I love also that you mentioned that this is grounded in science, that your training is based in science. And I love that you have not just a couple listings or links, but you have at least a dozen, if not more, links to articles and studies supporting the benefits of what you're doing. And I love that because first of all, you encourage people to do the research. You're authentic and open and transparent about it, but
Yeah.
also I think that builds trust and then I love how you wrote that you're always updating it, and so that just makes my little research heart happy that that I can go in and read about the science and how the body operates with these woo woo singing bowls. It's pretty cool, and I love that indigenous populations have used sound. They often is the truth. That I find this in nutrition, that we go full circle and we go back to our roots, and that's where our body is most comfortable. So it makes sense that it would also be that way with sound. I love
Right.
it. I love
Well,
it.
and with my prior training before I even got into this, I, I'm trained in peer support and I have skills around suicide prevention, awareness, intervention. So it was really important to me to create a safe environment for people, whether they're 15 or they're 80, doesn't matter. And so I also took training in trauma informed care. So my intake form is based in trauma informed care. It's been reviewed by a psychologist, a police psychologist, and a couple of social workers looked it over. And and just to be safe. And so I'm asking a lot of questions like, do you startle easily? Do you need to know where I'm at all times? And even when I'm doing the grounding, I activate that big bull on 3 sides, and I will very quietly say, on your left, behind you, on your right, because that bull is so strong with the vibration,
Mm,
and the sound is really low, so it's not going to be like a high pitched shocking noise, but it's still a stronger tone. And I want them to be starting to relax. And so I'm always really, really careful about making sure that people feel really safe. That's something that I feel like you have to do. And that's part of what the
absolutely.
training was. And, when I'm licensed, and a lot of people who do sound baths or who maybe are doing vibrational sound therapy are not. They may have gone through some kind of training or something, I don't know. And there's nothing wrong with people doing sound baths with no formal training or licensure. You don't need it for that. But if you're working with the body, I feel like you definitely need to have the training, and they do a full background check every year, and you have to do the continuing education, all of that.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
I feel like that also creates a higher level of trust, that you're coming to a practitioner who has a background check, who's been trained, who,
mhm.
is really being mindful about doing things right. That
I
was really,
love that.
yeah.
Yeah, as I approach the end of my training and my master's degree, and just taking pride in in that level of training, right? I understand what you're saying, that to choose a path that might be harder to get through, to get to the point where you are, but it's going to benefit the people
Yeah.
you see. And yeah, and you mentioned sound baths, and that anyone could use the singing bowls for sound bath. Is that basically just this? I mean, tell us what a sound bath is. I don't want to butcher it.
No, that's fine. And I think it can be a lot of different things. It depends on who's doing it. When I do them, I've done them with yoga teachers, either indoors in a class or in a backyard for a yoga class, virtually for a class, and depends on what type of class it is. Like if it's a yin class, and it's that really slow moving type of yoga, then I'll play throughout the whole class. If it's like a vinyasa or something like that, then it's okay, we'll play during shavasana. And maybe I only have a few bowls. I work with one teacher that we only use 2 bowls. We use the heart chakra bowl, or the F note, that's a huge crystal bowl that I have. And then we use the crown chakra, or the B note, and we just use those 2 bowls. So you're talking heart and mind, which are very
Ah,
connected. And so I teach people to have their hand on their heart. And when the heart bowl is activated, then they're placing their hand on their heart. So it brings that awareness to their heart, and that's their inhale. And then
oh,
when they exhale, we activate the crown chakra, the mind, and then they can put their hand here. And then when the bowls are going over each other with that harmony between them, because they're very different sounds, so it creates dissonance, which helps calm the mind. Then you're focused on the path between the mind and the heart. And if you're still touching here, then you're just visualizing that path between our heart and our mind. And incredibly relaxing. It's very powerful, um, because we're super focused, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
not thinking about other things, and it really brings us to a deep inner connection with our body, and auditory, and that kind of thing. So there's lots of different ways to do it. You can play all kinds of instruments, or you can play one or two very intentionally. Yeah, so it can be, I work with like four different yoga teachers, and so we just talk about what they like, what they know that their students like, what they're kind of going for in their class, what kind of flow are they going to do, or when do they want me to play, what are they focusing on, and then we figure it out together. So it feels
Super cool.
really
I learned a lot about that. I love the mind heart thing. How can you not be present
right.
when that, like you say, that dynamic is happening, that flow and that intertwining of sound? For how busy our minds are, how can we not um, be compelled to be exactly in the moment? And gosh, I crave that, in my busiest times. I wish I could just stop and breathe and just be still. And so cool, so cool. So you pulled out that bowl. Are you teasing us? Are you going to give us a little a
I was
little
kind of teasing you, wasn't I? So I will preface it with this, that the bowls never sound as good virtually online as they do in person. There's just no comparison whatsoever. In person is 1,000% better, right? And I'm fully vaccinated, but I still have COVID protocols, that, safety protocols in place to keep everybody safe, and that kind of thing. But in person is definitely so much better. So, but yes, I'll give you a little sample.
Yay.
So, I would invite you to maybe close your eyes for just a second
Okay.
and take a deep breath and just listen to the sound. And as it dissipates, then exhale, and then we can just all come back together.
Wow. Okay, so I'm all about this. I love it. I I even with the distortion through Zoom, it's not ideal. I still felt something with that. I still felt it. So I can just imagine the experience, and I have done it in the past. I look forward to enjoying your wonderful talents soon. And so speaking of that, how can people, so we've got people listening and watching from Colorado area. So first of all, tell us how we can contact you, and then tell people who aren't local, how do they find someone who's qualified in their area? That might be a big help.
Absolutely. So if you're not in Colorado, if you go to the Vibrational Sound Association's website, and you can click on Find a Practitioner, and anybody who's licensed through the VSA, and it's done by state, so you don't have to scroll and scroll, you can just find your state and see if there's a practitioner there. If there's not, you mentioned a metaphysical store. Some of the metaphysical stores have practitioners of different sorts that work there, and they usually are tapped into, who does this kind of thing. I would say just make sure that, because here's the safety concern in me, just check out who you're going to,
Mm-hmm.
really find out, like, how do they do things? Do they understand contraindications? Do they understand how to keep you safe? And those kind of things. And then you should be able to find somebody. And there's not a lot of us in Colorado who are licensed, but I know other states There are some, and there are states that there's not as many too. So for Colorado, so my studio is located in Lone Tree, basically off of Yosemite and Kimmer. And then you go to Teddy Lane and kind of follow it around. I'm right across the street from the Lone Tree Police Department,
Okay.
and next to Eagle Academy right there. And so my website is like the biggest source of information
Yes,
to
I will
learn
vouch for that.
learn about it more, to see pictures, to read the research, to read through the FAQs, that kind of thing. And that is just tryresonance.com. And so it's TRI and then resonance.com. And my email address is tryresonance@gmail. So that's really the easiest way to get a hold of me, because this is really a part-time job until I get enough clients that I can retire and just do this, which is the goal.
Woohoo!
So I try to look at my email at lunch, and then I do this business working on it in the evenings, Monday through Thursday. Friday night's date night for hubby, and and I'm at the studio all day Saturday, and Sunday is my day off. So I usually start sessions at 6:30 on a weeknight, but can do 7:30, whichever time people need to start, that kind of thing. I do a couple session where it doesn't have to be like husband, wife, or
Oh,
partners. It could
okay.
be girlfriends. It could be mother, daughter, mother, son, father, daughter, whatever. Um, and so two people can come at once. If two people in one family want to do back-to-back sessions, then we can do that because they live in the same household. I don't have to do as much cleaning in between clients to keep it
Mm.
safe. So I try to accommodate those ways. And then to schedule for sound baths or sound meditations, for meditation groups, just girls' night, happy hour afterwards, for a yoga class, those kind of things. You just email me and we figure out when it works and how it works, and we just go from there to make it happen.
Love it. So many ways to get a hold of you and to utilize your many talents. It's so cool. I'm thrilled. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for
Oh,
joining us today, Phyllis. Phyllis Harvey, everyone. And please give that amazing son of yours a big hug from me.
oh, yes.
Will you tell him I said hey? And I look forward to a vibrational sound experience soon.
Sounds wonderful.
All right, my friend, you take care.
You too.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. I always forget. Oh, there it is. Stop recording. Bye, everyone.